Hello, Miami. This is 305 Sports Now, your home podcast and channel for all things Miami sports related. I am Will, and today I'm going to talk about the situation with Tua Tagovailoa and his concussions, being on concussion protocol. Tua and the Miami Dolphins lose their fourth game in a row against the Green Bay Packers in a heartbreaking affair of 26-30. And it was obviously something wrong with Tua. Tua had 3 interceptions in the second half that pretty much cost him the game, and very uncharacteristic of Tua himself. From what we've noticed in that game, Tua took a very bad fall towards the end of the first half, which is a good explanation now that they've diagnosed him with a concussion of why he performed so badly. But if you're keeping count, and many of us here in Dolphin Land are, this is Tua's third concussion, all right, this season, and it's becoming an issue. Tua is a player who's everything you really want in a quarterback. Okay, he's highly intelligent. He knows how to read coverages. He knows exactly where to put the ball in the correct spots. For his football team, he knows how to throw his receivers open. He could throw it deep enough. Deep enough. I know some people are gonna get upset with me for saying that, but deep enough, where he can stretch the field. He doesn't have never had the arm, and we never thought he did of Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow or Aaron Rodgers or any of those elite quarterbacks in particular. But he threw it just enough, deep enough, that defenses had to somewhat respect, his game. And he's had a great season. Okay, the Dolphins at one point were undefeated when they were 8-0 when he started and finished games. That hasn't been the case, as they've lost 4-0, 4 in a row with Tua at the helm. And in some games, he's been the issue. Okay, he struggled against the 49ers. The team itself had trouble adjusting against the San Diego Chargers. And the Buffalo Bills game, defense, gave up too many points in that game. They gave up the game in the end. Tua did not lose that game to the Dolphins. He didn't even get a chance to even come back and win the game, but he made some good throws in that game, some of which became drops, as we noticed. And this past game, he was flat out obliterating, the Packers defense. And then the second half comes along, he throws those 3 picks, and the Dolphins are now an 8-7 football team. Listen, I'm concerned, and I'm really concerned because Tua is an individual. Excuse me, everybody. Tua is an individual that although he has all these intangibles, the intelligence, the understanding of strategy, of game planning, and so on, he's been very injury prone. He had a horrific hip injury in college that many people thought that the Dolphins overreached in picking him at number 5. All right. He's had an issue with, he's broken his finger. All right. He's broken ribs. Okay. He's had 3 concussions this season, as well. And even when he hasn't had a concussion, he's had, somewhat nursing somewhat of a tender ankle and so on. So these are things that we have to evaluate. I'm not trying to retire the guy. Aaron Rodgers said the kid has a future in the league. And I do believe, that the Dolphins could win with Tua. But is he a long-term solution is what I'm asking myself. All right, especially after this game. 3 concussions in one season. It's at the point where every single time, he gets hit, you're grasping for air as a Dolphin fan. And I'm sure the front office feels the same way. What's the deal? Like, what can we say, And as a person, I'm worried about Tua's health. I'm worried about Tua's health in the long run. If he doesn't finish out the season, I wouldn't be surprised. But I do believe that the Dolphins have to do what's best for him and for the future of the franchise, whether it's keeping it where shutting him down this season and just riding with Teddy Bridgewater, hoping you make the playoffs and seeing what he can do for you, or maybe trying to find a draft or trade with a quarterback for next season, a veteran that can fill in a spot where he can draft, a quarterback in the future. And if Tua doesn't pan out, like they did with, even though he hasn't really panned out either, but what they did with Josh Rosen and Kyler Murray, let's see what happens in that area. And I'm just saying that because, we look at NFL athletes like these superheroes and these Supermen and stuff like that, but we also forget at times they are human. All right, we forget that they are people, with families. They're people with, that have health, and we need to understand that, in the end, it's just a game. All right, it's just a game. And Tua's made a good enough money. Tua has made good enough money. He's made good money. And I also think that he has the potential to be a good coach, scout, analyst, whatever he may be needed for, or what he's asked to do, in the long run. All right. A lot of guys have have gone on, past football that weren't even as good as Tua to become, pretty good analysts, i.e. like Mark Sanchez, who called one of the Dolphin games, in Buffalo, and, Dan Orlovsky, who wasn't the greatest quarterback, but Dan Orlovsky's a hell of an analyst, for ESPN. All right. So those are things that I think that Tua should think about. I don't mean to retire him. I don't want to do that. I think that, he should be able to call his own shot. And the Dolphins have invested way too much in him, to give up. I do think, again, what he's done this season, I'm not going to ignore, what he did for 8 games this year in terms of what he's in the position he's put the Dolphins in. The Dolphins are not in the position they are in to go to the playoffs if it isn't for Tua. All right. It's just, it's the proof is in the pudding. Okay. The kid's got stuff. All right. He's a good leader. He's liked by the locker room. He has a great relationship with his head coach, which he didn't have in the previous couple seasons. Let's be honest. All right. Brian Flores stifled the growth of Tua Tagovailoa. He absolutely did. It's beyond a shadow of a doubt that Brian Flores messed with the maturity, the football maturity, the professional football maturity of Tua Tagovailoa. Mike McDaniel has done a great job of showing Tua what he could do when he's healthy and things are going the way he needs him to go to be a successful football player. They've surrounded him with weapons. They've invested heavily in the offense. They definitely believe in this guy in the front office. All right. But I really, 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 as a person, do not want to see Tua end up with significant brain damage in the next 4 or 5 years. Andrew Luck retired for health reasons. Andrew Luck obviously was in the peak of his career. He was a good football quarterback, college and pro football quarterback. He retired because he was tired of the injuries. All right. There's going to have to come a time, hopefully this is just the season. It's just an anomaly, but there's going to have to come a time where Tua's going to have to make that decision for himself, whether it's worth his health, for his family's sake, for his future, whether continuing on as a football player is the best thing for him in the long run. All right, that's just my take. All right, if you like what you heard, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports Now. Once again, I am Will. If I don't talk to you soon, have a very blessed and happy New Year. See you soon. Bye-bye.